Hello, everybody. Give me a second here. Put the light on so you can actually see what's going on. Just need to add a couple of things, so bear with me. One second, guys. Just updating a couple of things in the background. And then we'll get going. So, who've we got in today? We've got Tabo. Good afternoon to you, sir. Hope you are well. Good afternoon to you as well, Vincent. Hope you're both doing very well. Yeah, let's get into it then. So, I'm going to have a little look at some markets today. Need your help today, guys. Need the energy today. I'm low on energy today. I was doing a lot of research last night on the UK, on the UK upcoming election. So I'm hosting a webinar this week, so I've been doing a lot of work in the background on that. So had a heavy late night session at the screen, so a little bit lackluster on energy today, but we'll get going. We'll fire in some charts as usual. Thank you to everybody that's come in. As Alano, welcome back. Thank you for joining again. Matthew, hello. Doing really well, thank you. Aussie Swiss on its way up. Yes, absolutely. We were talking about Aussie Swiss before, and yeah, it's featured quite heavily on the heat map. I did actually get long in Aussie Swiss, so holding that one at the moment. Just watching this Kiwi dollar potentially setting up here, so I'm just having a little look at that one as well. Good afternoon, Wizzy. Hope you're doing well. And CG, good afternoon to you too, or good morning wherever you're from. Good afternoon and good morning. Right, we've got a busy calendar this week. That's why I've been here, there, and everywhere, and focusing on obviously all the election talk that's been going on. We had the French elections going on over the weekend. We've seen a little bit of a move for Le Pen, bad news for Macron. So not doing particularly well in the French elections. And then obviously this weekend we could see a majority from Le Pen, which would cause some downside in the euro, I think. UK elections, though, coming up as well this week. I'll be going to vote on Thursday, and yeah, we'll see what the outcome is on that on Friday. So we could have a new government in charge in the UK, and probably see some movements off the back of that as well. What else have we got going on this week? What haven't we got going on this week, actually? We've got the FOMC meeting minutes. We've got Fed Chairman Powell speaking today at a forum in Portugal with Francine Lagarde. So, yeah, again, very volatile day coming up. And I'm actually looking at an opportunity on gold, which I'm going to go through as well, because I think gold could be one to watch. Whereabouts did you get in on Aussie Swiss? I got in at 0.6006. So I got in six pips above the handle there. Let me just go show you where that is on a chart. So yeah, basically looking at this price action here, and this is what I was kind of looking at this morning. We had this kind of pullback into a volume area of yesterday. So what I typically like to look for is areas like this, where you've got this kind of pickup in volume. And what that looks like to me is basically just this consolidation pattern in here. So anytime I see a little bit of like consolidation like this, and then a breakout of that, I like the idea of seeing a sort of break and retest of that, because that's where volume has been built. And that's what I was looking for here. So looking at this morning, price was already starting to make its move up before I got to the chart. So I actually took this on a 5-minute chart, and I basically did the exact same thing again, because what happened was, if you can see that, if I'll just zoom in a little bit more, what happened was price made its move to the upside. Okay. I don't know if you can see those lines on the chart. Let me just see if I can edit it a little bit just to make it a bit easier to see. Let's go with like an orange maybe. How does orange look? Not that great. Green. No. Bright yellow maybe. Let's see if I can get the thickness up a little bit. So we rallied, and again we consolidated. I'll just take the volume profile off there. We consolidated going left. Okay. Again, what is that consolidation? It's volume. It's the market. Buyers and sellers agreeing on price. What happened at that point then is we drove out of that area. So what I did was I put a volume profile like this, and I wanted to see where the high volume was within that area. So I saw this kind of zone in here, and basically just waited for price to come back to it. So I can see we tested the point of control. I ended up going long at 6006, which is just sort of after that close. I bought it live, but spread was a couple of pips there. Stop loss is below the low at the moment, and I'm just looking to try and take this a little bit higher. So looking basically to see, I'm not really fussed about this high. I'm looking to try and trade up towards this consolidation here that formed on the daily chart. So we've got kind of early sort of volumes in here, second kind of volumes up towards the 0.6050 and above. So that's my kind of target for price at the moment, in and around this kind of area, potentially up towards 0.6050. So anywhere around there, I'll be pretty happy with taking some off of the position at that point. But that's my position so far. That's what I'm kind of looking at in there, which on a 5-minute time frame, yeah, it was just in and above this high actually after spreads. A little bit different pricing on trading view here. So after spreads, it was about 0.6007 here, but on my MetaTrader terminal, it's 0.6006. So yeah, looking for a bit of upside there on Aussie Swiss. And again, how do I come to the conclusion of trying to trade that? Well, all comes down to some strength and weakness analysis. I was looking at the charts, obviously, over the weekend, building out the currency strength meter, looking at the opportunity to be a buyer of certain currencies, sellers of others. Aussie is a strong currency at the moment, and that is also reflected on the 50 moving average one as well, although it's only +2. All the other currencies are starting to turn a little bit negative. So like the idea of being a buyer of the Australian dollar at the moment as well, fundamental picture is looking pretty interesting in terms of higher inflation in Australia as well. So all in all, like the idea of the RBA maybe holding rates higher for longer. So I want to be a buyer of the Aussie. So I'm looking to try and trade that against weaker currencies. Love it against the Kiwi, I must admit. I don't know if anybody's been trading Aussie Kiwi. I don't really trade Aussie Kiwi, but I'm actually looking for a couple of positions into that market, because the New Zealand dollar for me is a currency that I want to try and short at the moment. So I'm looking to try and sell it against currencies I think that are stronger. Yeah, 60, 600 to 800 sensible area. Yeah, I think so as well. I like those kind of high volume areas. You're welcome, Matthew. Thank you for joining the stream. Guys, if you're new, hit that like button as well. Really helps me to continue to do the live streams. If the performance of the live streams is good, I can continue to do them. So, yeah, please hit that like button. I would really appreciate that. Is this spreadsheet available to the public? It is not. It's just my own personal spreadsheet. I do not make this available right now. Sorry. But you can see on most of the videos, I do a video on a Monday now, just purely down to this currency strength and FX heat map. I also post a picture of it every day on my Twitter, or X, sorry. So if you go to John Talks FX, I post every day with an update of that. So if you want to go follow me over there, you can do so. But yeah, I like the Australian dollar at the minute. Like I said, Aussie Kiwi is another sort of favorite of mine to be involved with right now. Just waiting on the pullback. So looking at the daily chart, we've moved a long way. I was kind of looking for an opportunity last week, and we haven't really pulled back. Let me just go to a 30-minute time frame over here. We haven't really pulled back at the moment. The market has been sort of continuing to push higher. If we look at it on a sort of, sorry, go to the other chart. If we look at it on a weekly chart here, we are pushing up towards this kind of high area here, these resistance levels. But I like the idea of potentially seeing Aussie Kiwi maybe even breaking out of this range, but I don't really want to trade aggressively above sort of 1.1. I think 1.1 is a good sort of target at the moment, and we're just kind of flirting with that area at the moment. If we just kind of open it up here, kind of flirting with that sort of zone. So if we just put in coordinates 1.1, this is where I think the market may want to come and retest. So I'm looking for the long on Aussie Kiwi now. I like the idea of price coming back a lot lower. So if we just go back to that daily chart, wouldn't mind price coming down into this area. Obviously, again, theory behind that is consolidation, breakout, consolidation, breakout. These consolidation areas here will have volume within them. So I want price to go and test those before getting long. However, you might not get it in the short term, might not get that long in the short term. So really what I'm trying to look for is any kind of volume levels within that. So this is a 30-minute time frame. You can see I've got an alert set of 1.0960. That is this volume here from yesterday. And what I'm basically looking to do is, if price comes down into this point, do we see a reaction? Does price see a reaction, and do we start to look for long opportunities at that point? That's what I'm kind of looking for here on Aussie Kiwi at the moment. But like I said, I like the New Zealand weakness in the market. One currency pair we've been talking about is Kiwi dollar. And one thing we talked about was looking for shorts below 6,100. And the market has been fairly good below 6,100, stayed very much below that level. We've had a couple of tests of that level as well, and the market has seemed to have rejected those quite nicely. I missed a beauty of a trade on it yesterday. There was this consolidation that had built up over in the Asia session. And again, one thing we kind of talk about every now and again is having a little look at the Asia trading range. So if you come on to your trading view platform, there's an Asia session high and low in here, right? Which you can add to your charts. And you can see the market basically, if I just take off that volume profile there, kind of consolidated in the Asia session, forming this volume up in here, right? Market broke out of that volume, and then we had US dollar data, which drove price back up into that volume zone. So if I look at it in terms of, there's the consolidation. If I just take off the Asia session high and low, and then I just add the Asia session high and low in a volume profile, you'll see that large majority or 70% of the volume was built in that sort of zone there, right? Markets come up, rejected it, closed below, and then we've just sunk to the downside. And I didn't really want to get short here because I was kind of looking at my risk reward ratio at that point. And if I look at it in terms of risk to reward of where I would have wanted to target, which would have been this support here, it was only a 1-to-1. And I know that might only a 1-to-1. That's pretty good in my book. A 1-to-1 is pretty good. But because I wanted to get sort of short up here, I would have had a 5R, so I just kind of left it alone. But I'm looking for an opportunity today. Pull my short at 66.441 on Aussie US dollar. I noticed Dixie gapped up and euro dollar had gapped down. Lost confidence in my long position and took it off. Really need to work on keeping faith in my setups. Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people, and even myself, struggle with that sometimes. I've lost a trade Monday. I'm back in that same trade today. So at the moment, I'm short in Euro Aussie, and I lost 2 positions on that overnight. I was only trading small, so it wasn't too much of an impact for me. So I've ended up taking another short position. I was about 37 pips in profit, and now I'm only 16 pips. But yeah, I think the thing is for me, if it technically still, you've got your fundamental bias. My bias is I want to be buying Australian dollars. I think the euro is going to see some downside. So Euro Aussie makes sense for me to sell. So as long as the technical picture remains the same for me, I will continue to look to trade that currency pair until the technical picture changes. And then if the technical starts telling me that this is more of a buy than it is a sell, then I've got to wait until my either something changes on my fundamental bias then or what. But yeah, I still like Euro Aussie short. But yeah, holding trades can be difficult. I think the one thing that I did that really changed it for me was just understanding your why. Understand why you're getting involved with a market in the first place. That's why I built the currency strength meters, because the FX heat map was, okay, well, the heat map's telling me to stay in this market. I'm going to stay in it until it's telling me not to stay in it, essentially. So maybe work on something on the back end for yourself that can help you achieve that, but I get that. Is this the fixed range volume profile using? Yep, just the fixed range. You can use, obviously, the session one as well. But I'm just using the fixed range volume profile on here for now. But yeah, basically what I'm looking at is yesterday's rolling into kind of today's price action. If we look at it from sort of high to low, we've got this kind of volume that was built in here. Not a lot of volume, to be honest. Obviously, that was over in sort of late US, rolling into sort of Asia session trading. So there wasn't tons of volume here. If anything, higher volumes are above, although I feel like we've seen a reaction from this one already. So yeah, I like the idea of being short in and around this area. Anchored VWAP on the high as well, coming in and around the middle of that volume. So I'm going to look for a potential intraday short on Kiwi dollar around this area into this area here, because again, what can we see on this 30-minute time frame? We can see a volume zone being built up, and I believe that the market trades from those volume zones. So daily chart, I'm short, although we've come into this previous resistance, which is now turning into a potential support short term. I actually think Kiwi dollar is going to come a little bit lower to try and fill this volume. So what I'm looking for now is lower time frame opportunities. Okay, so, and even though I think that Kiwi dollar is going to come all the way down here, am I going to necessarily hold it through that volume? No, because I know that the market could rebound here. So essentially what I'm going to be looking for is some kind of turnaround, some kind of slowdown in price, and then I'm going to look to see if there is a reversal on the lower time frame. So you might want to do this on like a 5-minute or a 15-minute or a 3-minute. That's completely up to you. I'll probably just stick to like a 15-minute or 5-minute, depending on how price action starts to play out. But what I would ideally want to see is some kind of rejection of a failed new high being formed. And then that would lead me into a particular opportunity there on Kiwi dollar. So keep an eye on that one. So yeah, I quite like Kiwi shorts at the minute. So I will be trying to potentially take advantage of that one if it does come around. Vincent, short position on Kiwi dollar at those consolidations. Stop loss was moved into profit. Still, I got slipped more than my initial risk after the news releases yesterday. Oh, up here, yeah, that was a nice short as well, Vincent. I'm quite disappointed I didn't take that short, to be honest. But no, that was a nice move. That's a nice move. Yeah, it got slipped. So yeah, put your stop loss in profit, and you got slipped on the news. Yeah, that's unfortunate as well. That's just one of those. You're gonna have to chalk that up to being a bit unfortunate on that one. I don't think there was I don't think you could have managed the trade any differently, and I think that's the important thing to take away from that. If you need to be happy with how you've managed it. The result might not have been what you expected or what you wanted, but the results aren't necessarily too much in your control. All we can do is manage the risk on the positions and try and gain some profits from doing so. Hello, just nothing. Hope you're doing pretty well. Do you have any insights on how the S&P will perform in the coming days? Please share them with us. There's a lot of talk at the moment that we are moving into a correction on the markets. So what I mean by that is a little bit of downside to come potentially for the stock markets. Now, it's all going to depend, isn't it? I think obviously the stock markets are rallying off of the idea that we're going to see rate cuts soon, right? And that's how you can see this being priced in. The market is trying to price in the fact that those rate cuts coming in. What is the S&P 500 driven by? Well, it's driven by the top 500 companies in the US, the top 7 of which are performing very well and driving the majority of this move up in S&P 500. So I think if you're looking for how the S&P 500 is going to play out as an index on the whole, you want to be looking at what's driving that market. So we all know or have heard that Nvidia is the market that is driving a lot of the market at the moment, and Nvidia will be one of those. You've also got Google, or I guess Alphabet, as well, being a big driver of this. They're the sort of markets that are supporting the S&P right now. Apple as well, which broke out of these sort of range highs that it was in recently as well, and has just completely turned and continued to drive higher. So I think you need to start to see these type of stocks underperform, because if we look at sort of mid to small cap stocks in the S&P 500, they're not performing particularly well. The S&P 500 has been dragged basically by these other companies, the sort of top 7 or the magnificent 7 as they call it. So yeah, for me, I probably won't expect too much downside unless we get some kind of significant breaks lower in those type of markets, those type of stocks that are driving price at the moment. And to be fair, look how bullish that looks. Looks pretty bullish right now. So yeah, expecting maybe a continuation of that. I mean, if you're looking at it from a technical point of view, I'm like I said, you've got to be selfish in trading. Where do you want to get in? Where would you want to be involved? So, for me, I quite like the idea of this consolidation down here, or even lower, this consolidation down here. And then it's just about, if price gets to those points, what does it do? If I look at it as a whole here, you've got kind of larger volumes building towards this kind of zone. So maybe that forms quite nicely where you've got the 50 daily moving average running through there as well. So you can add confluence to those kind of levels. So maybe if price came back to here, then great. Would you want to be a buyer of it now? That's completely up to you. But what I would say is, you've got this kind of range developing. You could possibly trade the range, range lows to range highs. because at least you know where your risk is at that point. But look at these little pockets of volume. You know, if the market does start to break lower, these will be targets for price. These will be targets, and the market will go and seek those to see if those that were buying there previously, are they going to defend their levels at that point, essentially. So, yeah, a bit of an accumulation here. It actually kind of reminds me of the accumulation that's building up on gold, which I really want us to take a look at. Really like the idea of potentially buying this if it breaks out, because what we've got this week is some political risk. We've got headline risk. And I think sometimes the market wants to go and seek safe haven assets when we do go into these kind of weeks where there is that sort of risk in the market. And I like the idea of basically price shooting up into this kind of area up here, into this high. So you've got low volume through here, basically where price moves very, very quickly in a short space of time. And what we're doing here is we're accumulating. Market is accumulating in this area. You've had lots of sort of buying coming in down towards this level here. We can see that because all these wicks are evidence that sellers are losing and buyers are taking over at that point. So I quite like the idea that price potentially breaches out of this zone in here and heads up to that other volume area. Okay, so I'm kind of keeping my eye on that at the minute as well. So I quite like the idea of that. Ikaw, Aussie, Swiss just shot up. Yeah, I can see that it's just shooting up now, which is nice. I want that to keep going if it can. Yeah, 606, 6050, 6060 I quite like on Aussie Swiss. So if that can keep going, that will do me very nicely. But yeah, what other markets have I been looking at? Kiwi seems to be having a little bit of a rebound right now. Not really doing what I thought it would do at that level. The dollar's an interesting market at the moment. We're seeing a lot of sort of short-term selling coming into the US dollar at the minute. Closed the sort of past few days bearish. Not seeing too much bullishness out of this market right now. It's like a slow grind higher. So not seeing too much out of it. I do still like dollar buys fundamentally, but it's becoming a bit tricky to try and trade it too much at the moment. Hi, Rygo. Hope you're well. But yeah, running about, let's see, yeah, about 20 pips in profit on Aussie Swiss at the moment. See if that can continue. We're getting a kind of a situation that in the afternoons we start to see a little bit of a sort of pullback in the risk currencies at the moment. So yeah. Let's have a little look. Yeah, Swissy seems to be weakening quite a bit at the minute, which I quite like. Just watching Euro Pound as well. Let's go Euro Pound. Euro Pound arguably probably shouldn't be trading this week just because huge economic data and headline risk, but I just love the setup here. And if I go to a hourly time frame, this is just a setup that I've been looking to try and trade all day. Now, I didn't technically get the zone that I wanted to trade from. I mean, if you look, it was very, very close to coming into my alert here. You can also see this volume zone that was picked up around that area as well. And I like Euro Pound downside. The reason why I like Euro Pound downside is because Europe and their elections right now, especially the French ones, which is kind of dominating the markets at the moment. But there is obviously some uprising as well in Germany and things like that. But Europe right now and the French elections could turn very nasty. Whereas in the UK, yes, we've got a general election that's coming up, but it's almost like the polls have already suggested that Labour have won anyway. So I think the market's kind of expecting that. If we obviously see something that's not expected, then we could see quite a large movement. But I think if Labour obviously get in, I think then it's more expected. So you could almost play the risk element of the two currencies at the moment. What's the risk of the far right group getting the majority in France? What's the risk of a Labour government? Well, the risk of a Labour government is quite low because the polls are already suggesting that. So I like downside here. Matthew pointed out, yeah, nice resistance on euro pound on the weekly time frame as well. Yeah, this is that sort of weekly level, all these kind of lows in here as well. So that's a good spot as well. But yeah, I quite like what's going on here on euro pound. Now, obviously, because price has already started to move, I haven't been able to kind of get on the back of anything here, although right guys in it. I mean, euro pound right now, I couldn't resist. It's too much of a big resistance zone. I like that. I couldn't resist it. So I'm going to look to try and get on the back of this in some way, shape, or form. If we actually just go up to the 4-hour chart here, there's a couple of other kind of confluences that I quite like here as well. You've got that fact that the market is trying to sort of make higher highs and fails, right? So this is what I mean by when you start to see price slowing down into a high, you get a kind of very shallow candlesticks forming and then the market starting to push lower. So this is all the things that I like to see. Essentially, the market comes in, starts to then make lower lows and lower highs. So if I'm looking at this in terms of value now, as in where could I get in where I find value in a trade? Well, I need to look at sort of consolidations. So consolidation in the Asia session in here. Again, if I just pop that little helpful tool on, you can see this was the Asia range in here. Okay. I quite like the idea of price coming to test that. The reason why is because if I was to put a volume profile over to what's going on today, just today, you've got volumes being built up in that Asia range because it's that consolidation. This is why the Asia range is so important and has been important for a while in markets, is because you've got this, especially when the Asia markets range, is because it's building volume. So, if you get a breakout of a tight trading range on an Asia session, then it's good. One thing you could probably do is look at your average ranges on the Asia range. And if you see one that's really, really small overnight, then you're more than likely going to get a strong breakout day. And if you see ones that are sort of fairly large compared to ATR, you can kind of struggle with that. I mean, euro pound though, however, looks like you get some good breakouts on this. So yeah, essentially I'm looking to see, does price kind of pull back into this zone here? Does it reject it? And reason being is because if I was going to get short now, let's say I got short now, where would I have to put my stop loss? Well, in theory, the safest place is above this volume. So we'll just sync that in the layout. It's above here. And then where's my target? Well, my target's probably down here. So you can see I've got 1.4R, which isn't bad, but the market's got to do a lot of work for that, which is not what I'm into. I'm into seeing short movements. So if I can try and get closer to that volume zone on entry, or even closer above that, that 0 spot 85 handle, I've increased the risk reward ratio, but also I don't need the market to do too much to try and get something out of it, right? I don't have to rely on price to try and break through multiple levels to be successful. I only have to rely on it to do a short movement. So even if I don't hold it all the whole way, 4 to 1, maybe I'll hold it for, 2 to 1, at least 2 to 1 there is, all the way up here now instead of the 1.4R, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, essentially I'll look to try and get it on a pullback. If it doesn't happen, I'll just wait to see if it does happen eventually. Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on gold, because gold's a chart that I'm very much interested in at the moment. There was another chart I was interested in. Yeah, been short in Kiwi CAD a lot. Again, that's just kind of formed from the currency strength meter and the FX heat map. But yeah, if we were looking at currency pairs today, which have kind of been highlighted as opportunity, you've got US dollar yen. So to give that sort of like a faint overview there, you've got dollar yen. You've got Aussie Swiss long, which we've kind of already talked about there. Just delete that a second because it's changed everything. I'll just actually highlight the currencies here. So yeah, dollar yen, I think it's good go. Aussie Swiss. I mean, Aussie yen and Aussie key. I'm trying to stay away from yen pairs as much as I can right now because I don't really trust that it isn't going to turn around at some point. So I'm kind of avoiding yen pairs. I don't know if anybody else is doing the same. CAD Swiss, potentially, but this is more of a reversal kind of market trade that I'm looking at. And it has just pinged off an alert for me, but I haven't looked too in-depth into it. No, I don't particularly want to be buying that right now. So we will reset that one. And then Kiwi CAD. So I'd say, like, if you're looking at any kind of markets today, these seem to be the ones to watch, in my opinion. So that's why I'm long Aussie Swiss at the moment. I am short Euro Aussie, but that's because I'm looking at the sort of political play there as well. So I am short Euro Aussie again. I got stopped on 2 trades on Monday, though. And you can see, look, my traffic light system is saying that I shouldn't trade Euro Aussie at the moment. And I've gone against it and I've lost trades. So what does that tell me? Always trade the strength meter, eh? But I like the price action there. I also like pound US dollar for longs temporary as nice support building. Let's go have a little look at that then on cable. And like I said, we might see some upside in cable. I thought that we would actually see a little bit of downside coming to the election. So what I was kind of looking for was downside into volume and then maybe a move from there, right? Because what we're kind of getting at the moment is the fact that what if the Labour government gets in, right? And everyone, or including myself, think that could be bearish for the pound. Now, the reason I only think it's bearish for the pound is because if Labour get in, they tend to spend a lot on services and things, and they spend a lot in the money. Spend a lot of money in the economy, and they're going to have to get that money from somewhere. Sometimes they can raise taxes, things like that. And then obviously it comes down to if people have less money, they will spend less. So there's potential for sort of pound data to then shrivel up a little bit. Pound could fall, right? However, I have been doing a little bit of research on inflationary pressures when a Labour government is, because we haven't seen a Labour government for 14 years. That's nearly half my life. So actually, it's just under half my life. So I'm looking at this like, what happened back then? And in a Labour government, we do tend to experience higher inflation as well. There's more benefits that are given out, things like that. So there's a balance there of trying to figure out what's going on. That's why I think maybe the Bank of England have held rates higher, so that if we do see what we see coming up, then they're trying to kind of position themselves for that. 4 hours stop making lower lows lower. Can't ignore PA, even though the dollar strong fundamentals. Yeah, don't ignore price action either, I would say. Although you can have a fundamental bias, your technicals have to match it. I was speaking to a great trader today, and I'm hoping to speak to him soon as well, again. And we were talking about the seasonal patterns within the markets, and when seasonals come around, people just expect to buy it because seasonally, let's say the pound is bullish, so people go to buy it. That's not how seasonality works. Seasonality is an average of the previous sort of 20 or 30 years, 40 years, whatever. And you don't know what's created that average. So you have to still follow the price action at the end of the day. Fundamentals, I think, give you an edge on staying in a market for longer, maybe not going on the wrong side of the market too often. But, you know, you still have to play those technicals. 100% you still have to play the technicals. And I do like what you're seeing here in terms of 4-hour price action. I'd say that we're in a bit of a 4-hour range. If I wanted to be long, I think I'd need to see something like that happen. I'd need to see the breakout first to convince me that you want to be long. But again, you look, Asia range, started to get some volumes in. Market kind of traded through those volumes. Retested sort of the previous day's low, didn't we? Friday's low. And kind of failed to break Friday's low. And then we've just surged from there. I mean, that's a significant rally in pound prices, but I'm guessing this is largely driven by dollar weakness as well. Yeah, dollar's just sinking at the moment. And then look, this is a good thing is what you can do as well. If you're trying to identify currency strength and weakness and you don't have time to build a currency strength meter or whatever, just have a little look at your change board over here, right? You can see if you're trying, especially if you put your currency pairs in orders like this, you can see what's been impacted the most by the US dollar. And at the moment it is pound. So pound is the stronger currency against the US dollar on the day. The second strongest currency is the Australian dollar. And the second is the Canadian dollar, which we've spoken about recently, looking for those CAD longs in the market. And Kiwi's underperforming. So that's why Aussie Kiwi's up. Aussie Swiss is up as well because Swiss franc's weaker than the dollar at the moment, despite dollar weakness. So pound Swiss long is probably flying right now. If we go take a look at pound Swiss would be a big winner on the day. Yeah, you know, big winner on the day, pound Swiss, because of that difference between the currencies against the US dollar, right? So if you do want to have a look into that, please do. You know, it's definitely worth it, I would say. I did get an alert go off on euro dollar, but that's just because it's a volume zone. Don't necessarily know if I want to trade that. But it's a volume zone that's been formed at 1.0750 from yesterday. So if we look at yesterday's price action, let's get rid of the Asia range a second. The point of control and sort of the higher volumes of yesterday's traded in this zone, and the market's coming up into that point right now. So that's something just to be aware of. Let's just see how Kiwi's doing, because yeah, it looks like it's avoiding this volume, which makes sense really, because there wasn't a hell of a lot of volume being traded there. To be honest, there wasn't a huge amount. Let's go have a look at dollar CAD then. We're obviously heavy buyers of the Canadian dollar right now, so it makes sense to look at dollar CAD. Obviously, I'd probably want to trade something else, like CAD Swiss long, maybe something like that. You know, CAD Swiss long makes a bit of sense, but I know I've just said not looking to buy it because we're just coming into this zone here, so I'm going to wait a little bit on that. Maybe we get a pullback, maybe around sort of this consolidation that we've just ignored previously. So I'm just waiting for a pullback on that one. But yeah, I like the idea of being a maybe Kiwi CAD again. I've been selling Kiwi CAD so much. I've got an alert up here as well for a short potential. So maybe we'll wait to see if that one plays out up towards that 0.8340. But yeah, I like the idea of CAD going long. Matt, gold looks like it could reach 23.40 today. Momentum looking strong. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, 23.40. I like the idea of price breaking out 23.40, and it's at the moment we're just in that range, aren't we? I'd like to see it kind of go for that, but yeah, you're right. We are starting to see a significant push up. I need to have a little look actually at COT reports. Let's do that for a second. Hopefully everybody's okay with me going to take a look at COT reports. But if we go to barchart.com, Let's have a little look at gold. Now, gold obviously is still not at a level where I want to see big selling coming in. We're still technically not at that point. So, although this area looks vulnerable to me, I'd only want to be short below those lows. I'm waiting for some significant change in the commitment of trader reports, and I'm basically looking to see if we reach the extreme of sort of minus 310,000 contracts on the commercial side. That's what I'm kind of looking for from the commitment of traders before trying to get short on gold. So hopefully we can continue to see some short-term gains, and I think a week like this could present that to us. So gold I still quite like short-term upside if we can kind of hold, and yeah, hopefully we do that. But let's go have a little look at CAD then. We did see a little bit of a change in the futures on the commitment of trader reports. So we'll just go to barchart.com. All we need to do is come over to, where is it? Currencies. Was it tools then? No, commitment of trader reports. So we go commitment of traders, and we're going to go to the, okay, I can close that. Now, we typically use this is a CAD US dollar inverse, so it's trying to replicate the futures chart. Okay. And what I'm basically looking at here is we've had a sharp decrease in the long contracts, right? Coming into the market, which is not necessarily ideal for what I'm looking for, but if we still look at the sort of contracts overall, they're at the highest level they've been since this data began in 1986. So contracts are very heavily still weighted to the long side for CAD at the minute. So I still like the idea of being a buyer of CAD against weaker currencies. So that's what I'm still kind of trying to eye up. That's why I've been really looking at sort of Kiwi CAD, because Kiwi's obviously been getting weaker. CAD's a stronger currency. So that makes sense to me to sell that market. And I've been doing quite well off the back of that. But yeah, this is why, because of this in here, this commitment of trader report data, seeing contracts long for the highest since 1986 is something I like to look at, and for me, I like to dive into charts and have a little look at the bigger picture sometimes. And, CAD to me is one of those which we could look to try and take advantage of. So it's actually the futures market that we wanted. There we go. Right. So yeah, so basically if we break out this 73 area, that would be the breakout of 1.36 on dollar CAD. Okay. So yeah, that's looking pretty good there. I like the idea of being buyers of CAD. That's why, favoring that sort of upside that we're seeing in CAD at the moment. We could see that it's gone positive 3 this week, broke out of that, plus 5s now. So yeah, like those. Yeah, the 50 moving average was showing us some different opportunities this week, but pretty much the same. Aussie Kiwi, Aussie Swiss, pound Aussie, which Aussie Swiss, Aussie Kiwi. So really speaking, if you were trading Aussie Swiss this week and just Aussie Kiwi this week, you'll probably do all right. You'll probably be doing all right. I would like to say a little bit more downside to Aussie Kiwi, though, I must admit, because I feel like there's a potentially good idea there. But yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is what Matt's talking about at the moment, the potential to see 23.40 today. That's what I'm looking for the breakout of this, because what that will tell me is that buyers and sellers are no longer in agreement, and that buyers are maybe going to try and take price up a little higher up into that area of volume that we saw here. So I think anything above 23.40, I want to be looking potentially long on gold. Markets made clear. Email me the cut report and dollar CAD, and the explanation was exactly. Well, there you go then. Yeah, I look at committing to trader reports all the time, and to be honest, that's where I learned how to use committing to trader reports, and that's who I was speaking to today. I was speaking to Ray, who's the CEO of Markets Made Clear, and he was telling me all about the seasonality stuff that he's got going on, and fantastic trader, fantastic person, and I owe a lot to how I learned how to study the markets from Ray, because Ray was the person that got me interested in COT reports, got me interested in. Every time I say to you, understand why you want to be in a particular market, that's what Ray taught me. Ray always taught me to never just look at a market from a technical point of view. Have a look at a reason why that market is moving. Why it doesn't have to be. Like I said to you, it doesn't have to be fundamental, but it could be something to do with committing to trader reports, could be something to do with seasonals, could be something to do with headlines, it could be something to do with anything really. But he got me into the mindset of thinking beyond the chart, thinking beyond the technical analysis. And I owe a lot to Ray. And obviously Ray, the owner of Markets Made Clear, is the reason I made the currency strength meter, because he teaches you how to make it, and that's how I learned it 10, 12 years ago, whatever. And that's why I created my own version off the back of it. So yeah, if you do want to go and look at any of the resources that Ray does have, then I would suggest go and have a look at Markets Made Clear, because the data there is very good, very good. Just spotted EuroCAD, and I don't think EuroCAD's on my charts this week. I have put bearish here on EuroCAD. And I'm just watching them. We just had quite a large 4-hour candle turn up on EuroCAD. In here. So that's the daily 4-hour. This is what I've just kind of spotted. This large bearish move. And again, that's probably come off the back of sort of volume in here. Let's have a little look. Yeah, so that's almost like the value area high of the move. You got kind of the larger volume that was built up in here. Market pretty much ignored that, but we're holding below it now. So we've kind of almost broke back below that volume and retesting the other side of it, which I quite like the look of. It's whether you want too much exposure to euro or not. How much exposure do you really want to the euro at the minute? Obviously, I'm already exposed with Euro Aussie short. So do I want to be adding exposure to the euro? I'll have to work out some risk, see if I can allocate some risk to that. But again, where would I really want to get involved with that? Yeah, probably back up here somewhere. We can get back up into that 81 spot 47.40 maybe, something like that. Euro pound still going. Right, any other questions, guys? Anything you want me to kind of chat about? Anything that's on your mind, let me know. Anything from fundamental, technical, psychology point of view, anything like that, let me know. Like I said, I'm avoiding yen pairs, but CAD yen is starting to bubble up again, starting to see a bit of a move higher. I was looking to see if we could test this 117.30 yesterday, but we just haven't come down to test it. So Yeah, not involved in any yen pairs at the moment. Quite scary, the yen pairs at the minute, I think. Quite scary. But if there's no more questions, I'll probably leave it there. And then Matt comes in with one. Let's go. Like the DAX longs, but smash through A200 support and negative top DAX sticks. Yeah, I would not be touching European stock markets. I mean, if we look at the CAC, bam, big downside. Ever since sort of Macron called the election, we've been pretty bearish, and that was on June. Was it here actually? Yeah, June the 10th. Been pretty bearish on French stock markets, DAX as well, kind of following a similar sort of path here. You can see this kind of break and retest of this kind of consolidation in there. Yeah, don't like the way European stock markets are setting up at the moment. I would rather I'd probably sit out until the French election is done with. Obviously, when are the German elections? I don't know when they are. Let me see if there's any coming up. Obviously, the French elections were because Macron called for one. Don't think there are any. So no, they were in 2021. But there's obviously been a sort of far right uprising in Germany as well, and there's a lot of support from Germany, far right parties supporting Le Pen in France. So I'm just looking at this this little piece of politics. Will the rise of France's far right sour ties with Germany? Fresh concerns about France-German relations. Green Party leader position. Start calling new elections. Right. Okay, so it could be a little bit troubling for Germany, basically, if Le Pen get a majority, because the RN party leader, Jordan Bardella, who would become the prime minister in France if Le Pen won the presidency, has been very critical and hostile towards Germany. So there might be some unrest if we do see a majority there, which could probably cause a little bit of panic in the stock markets there. So yeah. You're right. We've just had Jolt's job openings as well, right, guy? Let's bring this on. So we've just had 8.14. 8.14. Revised figure of 7.92. 7.92. Seeing that. Still technically, you've got to look at the bigger picture as well. Look at the Jolt's job openings in terms of average, still on the decline since sort of late 2022. Kind of in line with the inflation, actually, right? Inflation has started to call it. Kind of, you could argue that looks like the inflation chart, and it's starting to kind of come down off the back of that now. Yeah, I don't see too much in the way of that. Whether the market has kind of reacted off the back of that, I can see gold starting to kind of lower a little bit off the back of it. Let's have a little look at that. I haven't really seen much movement across the board because of it, to be honest. Maybe a quick a quick drop on a few of the pairs before kind of recovering back into those positions. But I don't think this is the thing that people are going to be looking at right now, although that's obviously impactful. Fed Chair Powell speaking at the moment. So I think the market will probably take more notice of that. This is going to be the big one, right? And we'll talk about this on Thursday before the with a bit of election kind of analysis as well. If we see, I mean, unemployment in Canada is meant to rise to 6.4%, which might be why we're seeing a little bit of a change in the COP data. They might be trying to hedge that risk a little bit. 6.4%, Bank of Canada will cut rates. They do not want to see that. You don't want to see 6.4% really. Post-pandemic is around 5%, 5.4%. So that seems to be kind of a healthy rate for Canada. This is the number I'm looking at. This is the number I'm looking at. We don't, the Fed are not going to want to see anything above 5%, right? Because if you kind of look recently in history, 5%, above 5%, that was obviously COVID, so we can't really take that into consideration. See if I can kind of go back where we have this kind of slow rise and then a break above 5%. That was the economic crash in 2008. There are some other examples of this going back, but not on this chart. So I don't think the Fed will want to see anything above 5%. So I think they're happy to kind of let it drift towards that. And then, yeah, we'll see what the Fed do after that. But I'm watching the labour market statistics now. We had a hotter number last month on NFP, which kind of was a bit of an outlier. So a lot of dollar strength off the back of that one. If we see another miss to the upside, we're going to see the same thing again. Average hourly earnings are forecast to come in a little bit lower now, but we'll see. ADP non-farm employment change can go and give us a little bit of a clue as to what's going on. And then, yeah, unemployment claims as well. We'll see. But yeah, tomorrow's a big day. I think the market will just shrug that off, to be honest. Let's have a little look. Yeah, it's in a little bit of a rejection. Now I'm looking, right, that looks like a great level to have shorted from now, doesn't it? Let's have a flick down to New Zealand US dollar. Yeah, still don't like that. Still don't like that. Okay then, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for everybody that joined me today. If you could leave the stream a like, as I said, it lets me know that you like these. It lets me be able to continue to bring you these live streams. So if you can leave it a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. Even if you learned something new today, just leave a like. They are free. And if it's free, it's for me. It's the same. So please hit that like button. I'm going to give a few shout outs. Tabo, thank you for joining me today, as well as Vincent, Azalano, Matthew, Wizzy, CG, Herc, as always, with some really insightful questions. Thank you. Just Nothing as well. Ekau, Ryguy as well. Thank you, everybody that's commented and asked questions as usual. Have a great trading day tomorrow, and I will see you on Thursday at 2 p.m. And we will catch up over what's going on the UK election front, and we'll catch up on any kind of developments with the US. So I will catch you then. Have a great rest of your trading day, guys. I'll speak to you soon.